He said I was overreacting when his mum called me fat, but when I caught what they really said about me behind my back, that's when everything changed. I didn't just walk away. I made sure they'd never forget me. Stick with me while I share my story, and if it touches you, don't forget to support our channel by hitting that subscribe button, dropping a like, and sharing it with the people you care about. My name's Amber, and I'm a second-grade teacher from Oregon. I've always been kind, soft-spoken, the kind of person who brings cookies to meetings and remembers birthdays. So when I met Tyler, I thought I found someone who saw me. He was funny, hard-working, and sweet. After a year of dating, I moved into his house. That's when I met his mum, Diane. Diane didn't like me from day one. She smiled through her teeth, gave me once-overs every time I entered the room, and asked too many questions about what I ate. The first time we had lunch together, she said, "You have such a brave style, wearing that dress with your shape." I laughed it off, tried to be polite. Tyler just shrugged and said, "That's just how she is. Don't take it personally." But it started happening more. Small comments that cut deep. "You sure you want seconds?" Or, "Back in my day, girls your size wore black to blend in." Each time, Tyler brushed it off. "You're being too sensitive," he'd say. "She doesn't mean it like that." I wanted to believe him. I wanted to be the bigger person. I bit my tongue. I told myself she'd come around, but I started to feel different. I'd look in the mirror longer. I stopped wearing tight clothes. I skipped meals. And the worst part, I started blaming myself. It got worse when I moved in. Diane was over often, uninvited, always finding things to criticize. Once, I made dinner, and she said, "Oh, how creative. You tried to make real food." Tyler just laughed. That laugh stuck with me. It echoed. I started noticing things. How Tyler changed the subject whenever I brought up how Diane made me feel. How he never defended me. How he'd roll his eyes when I got quiet after Diane's remarks. I started to feel like I was the only one trying to make peace. One day, Diane called me fat right to my face, and Tyler laughed. Not nervously, not awkwardly. He laughed like it was a joke he agreed with. That night, I cried in the shower so he wouldn't hear, but something inside me flipped. I wiped my face, looked in the mirror, and promised myself something. They thought I was weak. They thought I'd stay quiet. They were wrong. I was done letting people walk over me, and I was just getting started. The first big red flag came during a family dinner at Tyler's parents' house. I had spent the whole day preparing. I wore a soft green dress I loved. It made me feel pretty, confident. Tyler told me I looked beautiful before we left, and I believed him. But as soon as we walked in, I saw Diane's eyes scan me from head to toe. Dinner started off okay. We sat around the big oak table, his dad talking about fishing trips, his sister chatting about her new job. I was quiet, just listening, trying to be polite. Then, out of nowhere, Diane looked at me and said, "Wow, Amber, you're so brave for wearing that with your figure." The room went quiet. For a second, I thought I misheard. But no, she said it clearly, with that fake smile she always wore. My cheeks burned. I gave a small laugh, trying to brush it off, but it stung more than I could say. No one said anything, not even Tyler. He just kept chewing like nothing happened. I sat there in silence, pushing my food around, my appetite gone. 10 minutes later, I excused myself and went to the bathroom. The moment the door shut, I broke down. I sat on the edge of the tub, trying to keep quiet, tears streaming down my face. I couldn't believe she'd say that in front of everyone. And worse, that Tyler didn't say a word. When we got home that night, I finally brought it up. "Did you hear what she said to me?" I asked him. He shrugged. "That's just how my mum jokes. Don't take it so personally. You know how sensitive you get." Sensitive. That word made something twist inside me. I didn't yell. I didn't argue. I just went to bed quietly. But I started keeping notes in my head after that. How often she put me down. How easily he let her. How alone I felt sitting between the two of them. Like I didn't belong. I kept telling myself to let it go, to be the bigger person. But deep down, something was changing. I was starting to see them both clearly. And once I did, there was no unseeing it. It happened on a rainy Thursday evening. I had just gotten home from work and slipped on the wet porch steps. I twisted my ankle so badly I could barely stand. Tyler rushed outside when he heard me scream, helped me inside, and wrapped my ankle with a cold pack. At first, I was thankful. I thought, okay, he's here for me. But that feeling didn't last long. The next morning, Tyler had to take the day off work since I couldn't walk. You'd think that meant he'd be more present, more helpful. Instead, he acted annoyed. He sighed every time I asked for water or help to the bathroom. He started leaving earlier and staying out longer, claiming he had things to do. I was stuck on the couch, in pain, with barely any support. That's when Diane showed up. She let herself in, no warning, no offer, just took over like it was her house. At first, I thought maybe she came to help, but it wasn't help, it was control. She commented on everything. "What kind of grown woman buys this brand of bread?" she said, holding up my groceries. "Do you even clean under your sofa?" she muttered, while inspecting my living room, like she was about to give it a grade. I couldn't fight back, not with my ankle throbbing and my emotions already running thin, so I bit my tongue. Again, she cooked meals, but made it a point to say she was keeping things light, so I wouldn't keep growing sideways. I smiled through it, pretended I didn't hear, but inside, I was breaking. And Tyler, he said nothing. He let her walk all over me, again. One night, I woke up thirsty and hobbled toward the kitchen. I stopped when I heard Diane on the phone in the living room. Her voice was low but clear. She's so helpless. Honestly, if she put as much effort into losing weight as she does whining, maybe she'd be able to move around. Then I heard Tyler laugh. "Tell me about it," he said. "I've basically got 2 kids now." My heart dropped. I stood frozen, gripping the wall for balance. I don't even know how long I stood there. I went back to the bedroom quietly, tears soaking my pillow. That night changed everything. Something inside me hardened. I had spent so long trying to make them like me, trying to belong. But they didn't want me. They wanted someone to mock, someone to step on. I stopped blaming myself, and I started thinking, if they thought I was weak, fine, let them. Because now, I had a plan. When my sister said she'd be dropping off my niece for a weekend soon, I saw an opportunity. I told Tyler I'd ordered a baby monitor to keep near the guest room so we could hear my niece if she woke up at night. He didn't ask questions. Why would he? It sounded harmless. But the monitor didn't end up in the guest room. I placed the receiver in our bedroom and hid the other part behind a picture frame in the living room, where Diane and Tyler always sat talking when they thought I was asleep. I didn't want to believe the worst. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe they weren't as cruel as I feared. The first night I listened in, my hands shook. I heard them talking about me like I was furniture. Diane said, "She's just dead weight. You're too young to be stuck with someone like her." My chest tightened. I waited, hoping Tyler would defend me. He didn't. Instead, he chuckled and said, "She trapped me. She got me when I was broke and feeling sorry for her." I covered my mouth to keep from sobbing out loud. Night after night, I kept the monitor on. Every conversation hit harder than the last. Diane criticized how I dressed, how I walked, how I talked too much about her little students. Tyler agreed. They laughed together, like I was a joke. I recorded everything. I made backups on a flash drive, uploaded copies to my cloud. I couldn't sleep. I just lay there, staring at the ceiling, listening to them rip me apart in the next room. I wanted to scream. I wanted to ask them why they hated me so much when all I'd ever done was try to fit in, to love, to give, but I didn't. I stayed quiet. I smiled during breakfast. I washed their dishes. I let them believe I was blind and deaf to their whispers, but I wasn't. Every word was stored, every insult saved, not for revenge, not yet, but for proof. Proof that I wasn't imagining it. Proof that I wasn't too sensitive. Proof that the people I loved were the ones breaking me. They thought I was asleep, but I was wide awake, and I was done pretending. I invited Tyler and Diane to dinner on a Friday night. I told them I wanted to do something special, a little thank you for helping out after my injury. I cooked Diane's favorite roast, set the table with candles, and even wore the dress she once mocked me for, the one she said made me look brave. Tyler kissed my cheek as he sat down. Diane gave me a tight smile. Everything looked perfect. We ate. We talked about nothing. I smiled and nodded, and made sure they were comfortable. After dessert, I stood up and said, "Before we finish, I have a little toast." I walked over to the side table where I'd placed a small Bluetooth speaker. My hands shook, but my face stayed calm. I pressed play. At first, there was just static. Then Diane's voice filled the room. "She's just dead weight, Tyler. You're stuck. She trapped you." Then Tyler's voice. "Yeah, I know. She clings to me like I'm her only chance." I watched them freeze. Diane's fork clinked against her plate. Tyler's face went pale. "What is this?" Diane snapped. "I don't understand," Tyler started. "Oh, that's just one of the many things you said when you thought I was asleep," I said, my voice steady. "Want me to play the part where you said my cooking tastes like cardboard? Or the part where Diane called me a charity case. Tyler got up and rushed to the speaker. I stepped between him and the table. "Sit down," I said. He hesitated. For the first time, I saw something that looked like fear in his eyes. Diane was red, her lips tight. "You were spying on us." "No," I said. "I was protecting myself. From gaslighting. From being told I was too sensitive. From being made to feel crazy when I knew something was wrong." Tyler tried again. "Amber, listen. That was just—" "Don't," I said, raising my hand. "Don't try to lie again." I turned off the speaker. "I just wanted to see if you'd lie to my face again," I said quietly. "But you didn't even try this time." I walked to the door, picked up my purse, and opened it. Tyler followed me. "Amber, wait." But I didn't wait. I walked out. I didn't slam the door. I didn't look back. I didn't need to, because for the first time, they were the ones speechless. And I was finally done being quiet. I didn't just walk out of their lives, I made sure they remembered the silence I left behind. The morning after that dinner, I waited until Tyler left for work. I already had boxes packed, hidden in the back of my closet. I moved fast, careful. My best friend Lena brought her truck, and together we cleared the apartment in a few hours. I didn't take much, just my things. But I left behind everything they ever gave me. The necklace Diane gifted me for Christmas. The bracelet Tyler gave me for my birthday. I placed sticky notes on each one. "For the girl you hated anyway." I knew they'd understand the message. Before I left, I slid a folder onto the kitchen counter. Inside was a copy of the small claims paperwork I'd filed. When Tyler lost work a few months back, I covered 2 months' rent. I had proof, bank statements, messages. He always said he'd pay me back. Now he would, legally, but even that wasn't enough. Diane had always bragged about her perfect image, Sunday school leader, the kind of woman who baked cookies for every church event. So I paid her group a quiet visit. I didn't cause a scene. I didn't raise my voice. I simply walked in and said, "I thought you all should hear the full story, since Diane's been saying she's worried about me." I didn't need to bring the recordings. I brought the truth, plain and calm. The woman who mocked me behind my back was not the one they thought they knew. Some of them looked uncomfortable. Others looked shocked. One woman actually hugged me. "I'm sorry," she whispered. I nodded. I didn't need their pity. I just wanted the mask Diane wore to slip. And it did. By the time I left that church hall, I knew the whispers had started. I knew Diane would feel the cracks in the image she cared about more than anything. I didn't do it for revenge. I did it because people like her count on silence. And I wasn't going to be silent anymore. 3 days after I left, there was a knock on Lena's door. I didn't need to look through the window to know who it was. Tyler. I recognized the uneven knocks. He used to do that when he came home late from work. 3 taps, pause, then 2 more. This time, though, he was drunk. I could hear him slurring through the door. "Amber, please, just talk to me." Lena was in the kitchen, watching me carefully, holding her mug like she wanted to throw it through the door. I shook my head and stepped back. He kept talking. He said he was sorry, said he didn't mean any of it, that his mum twisted things, that he didn't laugh, that I was everything to him. I stayed quiet. Eventually, he left, but he didn't give up. He sent messages, long ones, short ones, 1-minute voice notes, then 6-minute ones, some begging, some angry, some just sad. I listened to one. "I messed up. I didn't protect you. I should have said something. Please come home." I sat with that for a moment. Then I hit delete, and I kept deleting everyone after that. He wanted me to fix what he broke. He wanted comfort after letting me be humiliated in front of his family, after laughing while I cried in another room. And now, because I left, because I stood up for myself, he remembered how to feel. Number Lena wrapped her arms around me that night. We sat on the couch in our pajamas, eating popcorn, watching a cheesy rom-com. I didn't cry. I felt strangely light, like the weight I'd been carrying, trying to please Diane, trying to make Tyler see me, had finally lifted off my chest. For the first time in months, I laughed, like really laughed. Lena looked over and smiled. "There she is," she whispered. That moment meant more to me than all the fake apologies in the world. The next morning, there were 3 more voicemails. I didn't listen. I just deleted them and went outside to water Lena's plants, feeling the sun warm my face. Tyler was a chapter I closed, and I wasn't going to reopen it just because he suddenly decided he missed the girl he never stood up for. It started small, a few whispers here and there. A neighbor who used to wave at Diane suddenly turned away. Another stopped showing up to her weekly garden club. I didn't say anything. I didn't need to. The recordings spoke louder than I ever could. Someone, I still don't know who, must have shared the audio. Maybe one of the people at the dinner heard about it. Maybe Tyler played it while drunk, hoping for sympathy. Or maybe Diane, in her usual fashion, tried to twist the story, and someone asked the right question. Either way, it got out. The same woman who used to boast about raising her son right was now being whispered about in the grocery store aisles. Her little circle of ladies from church stopped inviting her to brunch. Her carefully polished Facebook posts stopped getting likes. One even commented, "You should be ashamed." She tried to spin it, of course, said I was bitter, said I faked the whole thing, that the audio was edited, but people weren't buying it, not when her voice was so clearly on the tape, not when the laughter from Tyler matched her nasty remarks beat for beat. What shocked her most, I think, was that I didn't fight her. I didn't confront her again. I didn't post online or blast her to everyone I knew. I just moved on, quietly, gracefully. That's what made it worse for her, the silence. She called Lena once, asking to speak with me. Lena hung up, then blocked her. I'd hear little updates now and then. Her charity committee asked her to step down. She wasn't asked to host Thanksgiving for the first time in years. Her image was cracked, and no amount of smiling in public could hide what people now knew. She wanted people to believe she was the victim. But you can only wear a mask for so long before it slips. I didn't celebrate it. I didn't gloat. But I can't lie. It felt like balance. Like karma had finally done its work. I didn't need revenge. The truth did that for me. The days after everything ended felt strangely quiet. No more walking on eggshells. No more fake smiles at dinner. Just me, my thoughts, and the reality that I had to start over. At first, I didn't know where to begin. The pain still clung to me, especially during quiet mornings. But I had made a choice to walk away, and now I had to learn how to walk towards something new. Lena helped. She didn't ask too many questions. She gave me space when I needed it, and encouragement when I didn't ask for it. One afternoon, she handed me a blank journal and said, "You've been quiet for too long. Maybe it's time to hear your own voice again." That night, I started writing. At first, it was just scribbles, then full sentences, then memories, hurt, anger, but also hope. I found a therapist who didn't tell me to just move on, but instead helped me unpack everything, the gaslighting, the shame, the way I had been slowly shrinking inside that house. She helped me see how I had let someone else's opinions drown out my own worth, and she reminded me that healing isn't a straight line. It's messy, slow, and beautiful in its own way. I started walking more, then hiking. Being out in nature gave me a strange kind of peace. Like the trees didn't care what size I wore, or how long it took me to climb a hill. They just stood tall, and somehow I wanted to do the same. There were setbacks, days I cried again, nights I doubted myself, but they didn't break me. In fact, they reminded me I was still healing, still growing. Eventually, I went back to teaching. The kids welcomed me with open arms, and their innocence reminded me why I loved that job in the first place. I began setting boundaries, not just with others, but with myself. I promised never to ignore my gut feelings again, never to stay silent just to keep the peace, and never, ever to let someone else's cruelty define my reflection. Looking back, the betrayal made me feel small, invisible, but choosing to stand up, to walk away, to speak the truth, that gave me back my power. I didn't just survive, I came back stronger, more myself than I'd ever been, and I finally understood. Losing them wasn't the end of me, it was the beginning. If you've ever been called too sensitive, this is for you. They said it to me like it was a flaw, like I was broken for caring, like my tears made me weak, or my silence meant guilt. I used to believe them. I used to bite my tongue, nod, and convince myself I was just overthinking, just being emotional, but I wasn't. I was reacting to pain, to disrespect, to cruelty that wore a polite smile. Too sensitive is what people say when they don't want to look in the mirror. It's a way to make you question your gut instead of their behavior. It's gaslighting, dressed up as advice. But here's the truth I wish I had known sooner. Sensitivity is not weakness. It's a warning bell. It's your soul telling you something is wrong, that the way you're being treated doesn't sit right because it isn't right. And when you hear that bell ringing, don't silence it. Listen. I look back now, and I don't wish Diane or Tyler any harm. I don't need revenge to sleep at night. What I needed, and finally gave myself, was peace, space, boundaries, the freedom to exist without constantly defending my body, my choices, or my worth. I'm not angry anymore, not like before, but I'm awake. And that means I won't let anyone dim my light just to make themselves more comfortable. If you've been through it, the judgment, the mocking, the behind-your-back whispers, I want you to know you're not alone. You're not too sensitive. You're intuitive. You feel deeply, and that's beautiful. You notice the tone in their voice, the side glances, the words that aren't said but still hurt. That's not weakness. That's strength. Most people are too afraid to face in themselves. You deserve kindness. You deserve to be listened to the first time. You deserve to be in a room where your name is spoken with love, even when you're not there to hear it. I used to shrink myself to be loved. Now, I love the version of me that stands tall. And if my story helps even one person stand with me, then every tear was worth it. Do you think Amber was right to walk away without giving Tyler another chance? Or should she have stayed and tried to fix things? Tell me what you think in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you enjoy stories like this, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss one.